Well, I botched that.
Nice fade out.
Yeah, I guess. Do you know what? Hey, that's what you get for being the 13th best podcast on the internet about camera stuff. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Emery Wolf. Joining me is Nick Lamb, and we are just two camera guys. Usually I throw that to you, Nick. I kind of botched that too.
Oh, it was great. I loved it.
Do you want to run the show today?
Well, I love your background right now. See, I'm in the middle of renovations in my garage/office. So bare. You've got the green. I was just asking you off camera, what are your thoughts on Bigfoot? Your green background there.
Yeah. No, I'm
Looks
big fan. Big fan. Do you know what's funny, actually? To put this into like a camera-y way, I was a big fan of the X-Files growing up too, right? Like,
okay,
so
yeah.
The paranormal stuff interests me.
Well, and Bigfoot actually is a big camera guy thing because what's the original story with that Bigfoot? Like where they were weren't they movie people?
Not too sure. I don't think so. I think there's been like legends of Bigfoot for like years. Like our indigenous people used to talk about them, I guess. And then once there's that one photo I'm trying to search for.
Well, actually, you know what? We need a camera guy to find the Bigfoot because that's the problem. Is we get people with shaky cameras and fingers in front of the lenses.
Yeah, do you know, it's funny, right? When you think about all that like paranormal stuff and with how good cameras are and how abundant people are out with cameras, you think if things like Bigfoot or UFOs, if they existed, we would have like a better glimpse of those things
by now. Yeah, that's okay. Is that an enhanced image? That seems pretty good.
Well, I forget what the guys, what that image is, but it can't be Patterson Gimlin film.
Okay.
So that's like the original one.
Because that, I don't know. What are your thoughts just looking at that? So we're looking at the Bigfoot picture right now. It looks guy in a gorilla costume, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the way he was looking like right at the camera. Yeah. Yeah, I hate to say it, but that does look staged.
Yeah. But I do like I personally too, I might be a skeptic, but I like the idea that these things exist, that there are, there's a lot in life like that we just don't know.
Yeah.
And we don't like admitting that all the time. And I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, there is a lot more, even visible light. Like we can only see so many spectrums of the light. I'm not saying that Bigfoot's in a spectrum of light that we can't see, but you're right. There's a lot that we can't see out there.
Actually, Nick, spectrums of light. You and I went away from our last episode, which I still haven't posted. I'll actually post it after we shoot this one.
I thought I wasn't getting the feed. I was like, oh, do I have to re-click on it? Because I haven't seen it. You've got your newest podcast.
No, I'm just useless. That's all.
Well, it's not. This is why live is good. You just go live.
That's true.
Post all the stuff, less legwork.
Yeah. Anyways, we walked away from that episode and we wrote down 6 things that each of us wanted to sort of delve into. So we do have 6 of the things. One of the things I did write down, I've been reading this book called Alien Earths. Okay. And it's sort of about that stuff, but we'll get into that. I think actually maybe not this episode, maybe another episode.
Book club later. Maybe another episode. You know what? Let's put a 45-minute timer on this episode. We'll wrap it up at 45 minutes.
You heard it here, folks. I don't think we've done that since like episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do our best.
Anyways, Nick, let's start with one of your ideas here. Shoots that went sideways.
So I was thinking we need to put a bit of work into this show, start prepping some ideas. So my first one, sadly, I wish that I could say, when I first started, I had a shoot that went sideways, but this was fairly recent, within the last year or something. So I've got one of those teleprompters, right? But my teleprompter has got, your tripod plates that slide into the tripod, right?
Yeah.
So I've always got an extra tripod plate in my bag, and my teleprompter goes. There's a tripod plate that goes on the bottom of it, and it goes into my camera. But then on the teleprompter itself is another plate, but it's not the same size as the plate that goes into my camera. I think you can see where this story's going.
Yeah.
So at some point in time when I was putting away my tripod, I must have taken the plate off and I put it in a different bag. So I showed up to this shoot, and this was a 100% talking head teleprompter shoot. And I went to set up the teleprompter, could not find that plate to slide my camera into the teleprompter. And finally, I was a little super stressed out about it. Went out to my car, found a ratchet strap in my car, and literally ratchet strapped my camera to the teleprompter. It looked so amateur hour, but it was so embarrassing. But it worked. But it was just, my goodness. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been more embarrassed on a shoot. I should have taken a picture of it because it was awful.
That was one of my 2 questions I had for you. The first question I had was, are you talking about my teleprompter or yours?
No, well, and that was the mistake. If I'd kept renting your teleprompter, you would have double checked the plate. It would have been in there. I would have avoided all embarrassment.
Do you know, actually, it's funny you say that, because that's probably why, like, most productions do rent stuff, right?
Well, yeah, because everything's double checked, and that's part of the prep for your shoot. But I was out in my garage where I store all my gear, and I have got the shelf of stuff, and it was just like, oh, teleprompter, chuck that in the car, camera, chuck that in, tripod, chuck that in. Didn't go through my teleprompter kit because I just never open it up. I don't even know how I got it put away wrong, but I did find it sitting beside the teleprompter kit, like when I got home. So I've got it now in there, but yeah, so embarrassing. It better than not having batteries. So like, at least we could shoot, but this was, it was awful.
Yeah. So my second question was, did you take a picture? And you obviously didn't, which is,
Well,
I feel like a travesty, because you couldn't have submitted it to shitty rigs.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been the best. I was quite happy. So I had to think back, because when I was just like, how am I possibly going to get this thing on there? And then I remembered Todd, the camera assistant that I worked for years. He used to ratchet strap. So he'd put his camera on the bench and he'd fasten it with the plate. But then for extra support, if we were moving the vehicle, he would ratchet strap it to the bench so that it wasn't just sitting on the plate. So if the plate came loose, then it had the ratchet strap. So then I thought back to that and was like, well, what if I just used the ratchet strap without the plate? And it worked.
Yeah. I had kind of like one, I'll say, like where it was like a shitty rigs moment with when TSN came to town. They were interested in shooting the Connor Bedard stuff. And you know how, like, we're not given a lot of room at the Pats games for equipment. So when TSN comes with much bigger equipment, you have even less room. So the only option I had was with those big tripods that hold the big box lenses. Was I threw 2 of the tripod legs up on top of that drink rest thing they have in front of us, and then the one down onto the platform itself. And then 2, we had ratchet straps wrapped around it to make sure it didn't fall off that drink tray table thing. And that was a bit of disaster.
Yeah, so think a countertop bar. So when you go to somebody's house and that they've got that kitchen island, then they've got that skinny little bar attached to the island. That's basically what Emery was putting his tripod leg on, was on a countertop bar.
Yeah.
Hanging off of the riser. Yeah.
I didn't really prep this, but I think I do have a picture of it here. I'm going to try to.
Now, the ratchet straps for your tripod legs, totally acceptable. You see that a lot, actually. Like that, I wouldn't criticize somebody for it. It's actually a little bit safer to ratchet strap your tripod leg, especially when you're using those big box lenses and all that kind of crap. But to ratchet strap your camera body to your tripod, that's another.
Yeah. So if this is a look at like the for those who are not on the podcast watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and a like there too if you're there, by the way. Just shameless.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is what it typically looks like for us at a Pats game.
But that's not the TSN rig. Yeah, that's
right.
more of the.
This is the TSN rig, and then oh man, yeah, and I had it on a box as well. The reason for that too was I couldn't get above it. So typically with this, you'd like your monitor sitting above the lens, like straight on, and then you're looking kind of past the monitor and stuff too to find the puck. Or other sports too, like if it's football, you do the same thing in football. Anyways, so I couldn't get above it. So my workaround was to try to work below it. And so I propped it up here too. So not only was it on that bar stand thing, it was also on a box. So
you were working below. Oh my goodness, that is awful. You had 2 legs on the bar stand and then one behind. Wow, that's hideous.
Yeah, it was ugly, but you know what? For the game, it worked. We got it done. I'm not going to say I did my best shoot in that game, but
no,
hey, it got done, and TSN didn't seem to complain. So
yeah, nice. Let's go to your first one. What do you got up first?
I was going to share one more story.
Oh, sure.
Kind of the worst one. I think I might have shared this before too, but the worst one I think I've ever done was when I started my business and I started shooting wedding videos initially, just essentially to pay off gear. And I was shooting this wedding at a church. I think it was just a GoPro. I put something up at the back of the church just for this like big wide shot so that we would see everything. And it was sort of my backup camera, right? Do you know what? No, I had a smaller video camera. It wasn't a GoPro. I was thinking it was an SD card, what ends up happening on this. But anyways, we finished the wedding and I don't know why, out of sheer curiosity, I throw the SD card into my DSLR just to have a look at it. And, things look great. And just out of like habit, I tap into the menu. I wanted to see how much data was on it, how much was left on the card. So I tap format card. And, yeah, sure enough, when it's like, do you want to format? I'm like, okay. And then I was like, oh boy. And like, this is like the camera I need to cut back and forth to. Thankfully, at that time, I had the peace of mind. SanDisk cards always hand out that little card for recovery.
Yeah.
I had the peace of mind to just be like, I took a breath and was like, I'm just going to pack this card away. I packed it into the card case in a weird spot so that I would know that that's the card. And I just left it for the rest of the day. And the rest of the day, I was still paranoid, like whether I was going to have enough card space, but left it. I think I got a break in between the dinner and the banquet stuff. So I went home, put into a recovery thing, and it did recover the card, or was working through the process. And I was just like, thank God.
Wow.
And just left it sit, and I didn't lose a thing.
You had every file from there.
Yeah. But wow. because like when you format a card on your camera, all it does, so there's one file on there that basically tells the camera, I think this is how it works, that you can write onto this card. So it never erases the data. So all it does is rewrites the index on that file and says this card is blank, you can write over top of it. And so because I didn't write anything over top, I didn't lose anything.
So if you would have taken one photo, you might have corrupted that whole video file.
Yeah, I might have lost like one huge whole video file.
Wow. That's awesome. That's actually a good thing to remember. Just never touch it if you accidentally do that, because it might be recoverable.
Did you ever have here's the other thing too, that these stories I think are bringing to mind. Like, both of these things happen to us with when we're running our own businesses. We're the ones in charge of them. Did you ever have it happen to you on set when you're working on like a larger film?
I've seen it happen. Thankfully, like so lucky, like knock on wood, that's never happened on our camera. But I've seen it happen on another person's camera where they put a card in, formatted it, and it was a card that they'd already shot on.
What about like any other moment where it's just like, oh, like we're not coming back from this, losing
Well,
film or
so
something?
that I've seen it with, this is dating myself, but where somebody's flashed a mag of exposed film.
Was it you?
Thankfully, it wasn't me. So I have so you can flash unexposed film and you can flash exposed film. So like you didn't want, so you'd load it in the darkroom, and if it was an exposed magazine and if light got into it, basically what you would do, the same thing that you did with your formatted camera. So if light ever touched it, if you actually opened the door and you realized there was an exposed mag, you would close the door immediately, package it up, and send it off to the lab to see if they could recover it. And from what I remember about the exposed one is they lost one of the scenes from the outside because it's a big spool of film, right? Like, so the outside part got damaged, but the inside part was tight enough that light never got into the inside part. So apparently they lost a bit of the one scene, but the other scene was fine. And thankfully with film, if it was 1,000 roll mag of film, that's only 10 minutes. So at most you're going to lose a couple of scenes, which was a lot of money back then too, per scene on film. But no, never had it happen to me. So I have had a card corrupt
Oh,
during
interesting.
a shoot where I was filming, the card corrupted, and I lost the scene. And I had it on a documentary where it corrupted, and I didn't find out until after that the card had corrupted, and we lost the one scene.
Why do you think the card corrupted?
That was maybe just a Canon thing where it had something to do with either Canon or the card got old. So on my camera that I currently use, when it happened, my CFast card, I think they just got old. And then they started to corrupt because I had 3 of my original cards, all I don't trust anymore and I don't even use.
I've never had a card corrupt. And like, are you using like, I know people talk about like using good cards.
Mm-hmm.
Are you using good cards?
Well, mine, I don't know. I thought they were good. They were like, I used them for years and they were fine. And I think that the lifespan of like the SSD or CFAT, whatever, the card on it just ran out of its useful life for the high speed, because it's a lot of speed on the 4K cameras when they're transferring raw data to it.
Yeah. I keep thinking that, like, I've never had a card corrupt, but I keep thinking like I'm on that verge of it. And mostly like the reason I've never had cards corrupt is because I'm gonna sound like such a YouTuber on this, but I've never owned a single camera long enough that had a single type of storage long enough for
Yeah.
age like that. So like my very first camera I had, oh man, I used to have it sitting around here too. Without the light, they can't see. Anyways, the first camera I had used a compact flash card, and I think that compact flash card was like 128 or 256 megs or something.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't very much. The thing's a relic. I really need to. I wish I had it. Anyways, and then the next camera I went to, basically because it was like a big jump ahead. So I went from like a 12 megapixel camera to like a 24, I think, and a lot more processing, all that other stuff. But basically, I could take like 1 or 2 photos on that card. So then I had to get like into actual gigabytes. So I had to buy all new cards for that one.
So
and then too, I started. Then I got some other video cameras after that used SD. So ended up replacing some of that. And then the current one also uses SD. And then when I started with that, getting more and more and more. So I don't really have any. Well, I'm starting to get old SD cards, but not many.
And have they corrupted it all on you, or
not a single one yet?
really? Yeah, for me it's only been on the really high speed stuff where it's whether it can keep up with the camera or not. So yeah, I've never had it happen on a slower speed camera.
Well, there you go. Yeah, we'll jump into the next thing here, Nick. This is a really quick hitter that I gave. It's something I had in the old mailbox from 2024. You're going to see I've been saving this since 2024. But what it is the International Wedding Photographer of the Year.
Oh,
if you're into it, this is the wedding photo of the year, or the grand winner person, which
I've got opinions on this photograph. So it's a wedding photograph.
I've got opinions.
My problem with it is it's I get that it's a cool photo. So the photo is of a couple and your attention, it's a really wide photograph. Like they are, what would they be? 1, 2, 3, 1/20th of the frame.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest too. I actually think this is like photoshopped. I think they did a practical shot of a backlit thing with them at night of the couple, and then did another shot of the ice, because I think that's ice around them, and then blended the two.
Because so if this was my wedding and this was the photo, it would be like, cool, that's a cool photo, but it's not the photo that you're going to hang up on your wall from your wedding. Now, do you know what I mean? Because you can't even
Not
see.
At all.
I could say that that's from my wedding is the thing, because they're in silhouette. I can't even see their face. I can't see the bride. You don't really see the dress. It could be anybody.
Yeah, it's a cool concept, though. I'll give them that.
It is cool. Now, when you zoomed in, there's actually more detail to the image than I thought there was. So,
yeah, it's always tough to tell on screens, right?
Yeah, okay, I can see the couple there. Now you've zoomed in, and my argument's less impactful, but I could still say that's me, right?
Yeah. The other thing I'll say, like, if this is, well, I feel like you look like everybody.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is, like, if this is a practical shot, then it is quite impressive.
Yes.
I mean, it's very simple, right? One light behind them, I would think. And actually, it might even just be daylight behind them, for all I know, if it is practical.
Oh, so they could be, if they're in some kind of cave or tunnel. That's super, super cool.
Yeah, I don't even know where you find that. So we're looking at these wedding photos, Nick. You are married. Have you found, like, you were probably sold wedding photos on?
Yeah.
Did you get wedding photos?
Yeah, we got wedding photos. So we had 2.
And were you sold on them like this is an investment?
Well, so we got half of the deal. So we got nice wedding photos, like professionally done, and they're all right. They're not this quality. We got the person in Moose Jaw that did weddings, and that was who we got. So we weren't really sold on any of it. We just kind of went to them because they were really the only wedding photographer at the time in the city. So we just went with them, but we didn't get them for the actual wedding. We got our neighbor that was like into photography to film it, which it is not the answer. I'll tell you that. Because they don't look great, right?
But is it like really worth it? Like, do you pull out the old book and like sit with Janice and like reminisce? Like, oh, remember that time that Jerry shook my hand at the wedding and we got this photo? Thank heavens we have commemorated it here.
No, but I also don't think so. The wedding photos they're for us a bit, but they're more for our kids
Oh, yeah,
than
that's
they are
fair.
for us. But you don't really think of that at the time either. So, yeah.
Do you feel like it was an investment?
An investment. Not an investment, but worth it. I actually say this a lot too. It's not as much anymore now that iPhone photos are gotten so good. But what I used to always say was because basically always had an expensive camera, whether it's like $1,000 or $2,000 camera, but I've never regretted having awesome photos. Do you know what I mean? You kind of look back at all the photos, and I've never once thought, oh, I'd rather have that $1,000 in my account than all of these awesome photos that I've got.
I think that's fair. Actually, the picture we're showing on screen, I think, is like a good example of that too. So, like, I think this is a pretty amazing photo, but I think the big key issue is how much staging is involved with this particular photo. I don't know who this couple is, but they obviously went through. I'm going to assume this is their first dance, but I think they went through a lot of effort to get this smoke machine with the lights going. They probably did not realize there was this orange and blue contrast going, which, good on the photographer for seeing that.
So is there a fire going on? I'm confused with this photo.
The side here is all tables.
Oh, it's tables. I thought it was a forest fire.
Yeah. So, and then you've got like your people recording the dance. You got a band up here playing, the lights coming from the band, and then all the smoke and haze.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. But again, a lot of effort to set that up.
That's
it's not
cool.
For me, it's not so much the photography. It's like all the effort to set that up.
Yeah, this is the classic teal and orange though, because it's got the orange bleeding into the smoke. The lights are teal. Even they could go a little more teal for my taste, or Photoshop a little more teal on that. But quite a nice photo.
I said blue and orange, whatever. The other thing with wedding photos that I always think is kind of interesting. Did you guys get video done?
We did. I've never watched it. Not once.
So
been married 19 years. The videographer, actually my aunt, or Janice's aunt, was doing video at the time, and she videoed it for us. And I have no idea of the quality, whether it turned out good or not. Never seen it.
So you wouldn't be one to recommend video?
Well, actually, I would, because I will watch it someday, and my daughter will watch it someday, and it'll be cool. And I don't envision a scenario. The only scenario that I can envision is me going, awesome. What a great gift that we were given by Janice's aunt. Or the other scenario of us going, we shouldn't have been so cheap and hired somebody else and spent an extra $1,000 or $2,000, because we probably wouldn't have missed that money, but would have rather had that memory. So yeah, I would do it. I'd spend the money.
Yeah. When I used to like sell video to people, it wasn't, I always thought it was funny. I always had to charge less because like video was like an afterthought, which kind of annoyed me because I felt like there was probably more work that went into the video.
Totally.
But as I went, I basically, what I did was I started growing my per hour rate. Okay. And just charging that and just being honest with people like, hey, this is how much time it's going to take me. I realize it's expensive, but that's where this cost is going. And, if we lose some hours, I'll charge you less. If we gain some hours, I'll charge you more, like, as long as you're cool with that. And most people are good with that. The sort of sales pitch I had for them, if you can call it a pitch, was more like, what I recommend my friends do is, get Uncle Bob to shoot it. Like you in your case, it was Auntie who?
Auntie Vicky, she's actually over at our house for brunch right now. The
And you're podcasting.
But so she was actually getting into video at the time and was setting up a videography, like that kind of business for weddings and stuff like that. She's since gone back into, like, she's got a restaurant and a bakery and stuff, so doesn't really have the time for it anymore.
That was a great move on her behalf.
Yeah. But yeah, I was getting into it. The tech's hard. So if you're just starting from scratch, without unless you love tech and the editing side of things, the learning curve can be hard. And it has nothing to do with being smart or not. It's just whether you're embracing the tech or not, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, my recommendation for most people is, get aunt or uncle to shoot it. If you can get a microphone, get that. That's probably pretty key, because, what's the value in it's really what you say. You want to hear your vows and stuff during the wedding, or during the banquet, for an example, too. You really want to hear, like, that funny joke your buddy Bobby told in the thing, right? So those are the things that are actually important. The rest of it's kind of like just bonus, I'm going to say.
Well, have you seen, I'm sure you have, the highlight wedding videos where it's about a 5-minute long clip where they show. I used to
do, though, right?
Yeah, those I find a lot of value in. That would be even more valuable than the whole wedding, I think, because that's something you could watch.
Yeah, it's fun. And it is the thing, like, especially now that you would throw on onto your social media and show people, and people would enjoy that, right? So a little more value in that now. But again, you got to think I was doing this in like 2005, and there was like none of that. I was following a guy, Jason Magbangwa, I believe is how you pronounce it, out of the Philippines, who was doing really great work. And I was sort of watching his stuff and trying to replicate it.
You know what's so funny? Just the way life works. If you had stuck with weddings, how much it probably would have worked out. Just because once you get good at something and craft it, like 20 years into it, you would be able to just crush it at this point, right? But nobody really wants to stick with weddings that long.
I'm just trying to find, I did keep like one wedding video somewhere here. I can find it. And actually the funny part was it was a wedding video. Hopefully this doesn't, we'll see. Hopefully I'll maybe just mute it now.
Yeah. Okay. So you're bringing up your old wedding video. Now, what year would this have been?
2012, 2011.
Oh, so not that long ago. Okay. I thought
like
maybe that. 2005. So you did this for 5 or 6 years where you were filming weddings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is worth watching because it's like, you got the groom getting ready, the bride getting ready, and then you'll cut to them walking down the aisle. You cut to them doing the vows, a shot of some guy's smoking a cigarette. Usually you'll cut that out of the video, but editing choices are yours to be made.
So it's funny you say that, because all of these shots were cut from the video.
Oh, so this is your own special reel you made.
Basically what ended up happening was they had this song, Cinema, can't remember who it's by, and I found this like stripped down version of it, and I liked the stripped down version of it. And it was slower, less instruments, simpler. It seemed more intimate. And I just kept thinking, black and white to this, like, just try to make everything close up, everything as intimate as possible. And I finish up the video and I have, 20 minutes of unused stuff. And so I'm like, you know what, let's take a little charge at this, threw the song in, and literally took every single clip, flipped it to black and white, cut it along the ways, didn't really have much rhyme or reason to it, and just dropped it in. And it was like, oh wow, like I like this, and then adjusted individual clips for contrast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was probably one of my favorite wedding videos I ever did.
Did you just come back reeking of cigarettes after this video? the grooms just sucking back darts every second on the.
No, it was the groomsmen doing that.
Oh,
but,
the groomsmen. Okay.
yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. Like again, it's like one of the party things. And actually, the shot that made me, I don't know why I love this one shot so much, and it's all negative space. And then I made it even more negative space in black and white. But the shot that really got me like, all right, I'm doing this, was not this one. Where is it? It's none of these. I'll find it. Give me a second. It's when I believe it's.
Yeah, this is
sorry.
really. Next up, Emery's going to take us through his vacation to Basant in 2012, where he's going to take us through all of his photos.
It's this shot here. Don't know why. Just loved it. And it's all negative space.
Oh yeah, that is a nice shot. Basically, it's reminiscent of CBC late night movies circa 1996, where it's just the top bottom third of the frame is the top of their heads, and then the top 2/3 is nothing.
Oh, hey, I'm glad I can impress you. You know, the CBC was very influential, Nick.
It's true. Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? We're at 36 minutes here right now. We're not going into another topic. So let's, what I'm going to ask you, like growing up, what was like your nostalgia thing? Like when you look back and like, oh man, I remember watching that on TV all the time.
Oh, TV growing up. I've had this conversation several times. So I'm going to rank them based on the.
We got to rank them top 5 here.
Well, just the ones, if I had to pick one that just was like, oh man, I loved that show. It was so awesome. That makes me feel somewhat bad about watching it now. Saved by the Bell. Man, I loved that show. I watched it all the time. And looking back, a little bit sexist.
Yeah. But I mean, also looking back, you still have the same hair as Zach Morris.
Yeah. Man, I love that show. So the other ones that I used to watch was Fresh Prince, a lot of Fresh Prince, Simpsons, huge Simpsons, almost every episode of Simpsons. And if you want to go way back, lunch hours. Can you guess what I used to watch?
Flintstones.
Yeah, the Flintstones used to be on.
Yeah,
watch them at lunch. It's super funny.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think like you're more like what made you want to do this sort of stuff was more formed in like your adolescence then with Saved by the Bell, with those sort of things, The Simpsons?
Well, no, so I do remember my grandpa had a video camera and we borrowed the video camera from him, and I'd just make my own little movies, me and my buddies. So we'd make our own films, just in camera cuts, because we didn't know how to edit it outside of camera. So you just have to plan your whole shoot and cut it in camera. So, and then I've probably told this story before, but we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios when I was in grade 7. And we went to one of those filming of the TV shows at night. So we sat down for a sitcom and they filmed it. And I seriously remember looking out at the like boom guy, the camera guy, the guy that did the slate, and was just thinking, these are jobs. Like people are getting paid to work here. And I am living and working on a farm. Like this is crazy. Like farming life is very difficult. Like it's waking up early, staying up late, out in the sun. And I was just like, these people are inside here in this air-conditioned studio filming a TV show, and they're getting paid. This is wild. Like I got to look into that when I get older. I remember thinking that.
So what I heard is that you got into it because you thought it would be easier.
Yeah. That's the funny part.
And was it?
No, it's just as hard. It's the same as farming. It really is. In a lot of ways, you're up early, stay up late. You don't know when your next meal is going to come from.
Yeah,
very similar actually.
The funny part is like what I do now, and I get paid way more, and it's way easier. There's a lot of like, I got to think about things, which is fine by me, but I do think it's like easier work than working in
Yeah.
film.
A little more, well, I shouldn't say even strategic, because you had to plan ahead. At least my job, you had to sit down and think ahead a bit. But it was just, there was a lot of let's just get through this day. We're gonna just get through this next day. We're gonna get through this next day. And then we've got 3 days in the studio, which will be sweet. And then we're gonna get through the next 3 days outside.
Yeah. For my stuff that I liked growing up, when I was like a kid, Saturday morning cartoon stuff. And then what really affected me young was actually like almost specific moments, but all of the NFB stuff that they put on, those animations, the log drivers waltz, one
Oh
of the
yeah.
greatest things ever made in Canadian TV cinema history. And
So
then they
the
have like,
animation, you were interested in that.
yeah, the big
Interesting.
snit, all those things were great. And then as I got a little older, still like animation stuff. I loved the after school Disney's. Like I watched that till I was like 16, 17, right? Like still just like, yeah, DuckTales is on, right on, right?
So
And
can
then
you draw?
no, God, no.
Oh, because usually
That's why I went into cameras.
usually animation comes with kind of a love of drawing or art that way. Interesting.
No, I just love that kind of stuff. And then, like I said before, the X-Files, got big into that, watching that. And then the real thing, when I was like, when did it start? We were like 14 or something. Me and my one buddy, we would rent movies like every Monday was a 2-for-1 day, and Tuesdays were movie days. And you could rent these and watch these. We got into home theater systems. And then actually working in film wasn't even something that crossed my mind
Really?
until this Lanigan got their first guidance counselor the year I was out of high school. And my girlfriend at the time was going. And so I'm like, do you think they'll see me? And they're like, yeah, why not? So I go in and talk to the guy, and he suggested,
like, I've never met anybody that needs more counseling than this guy. I'm sure they'll take you.
Yeah. So yeah, I go in and meet this guy, and he brings up like sort of asked me some things, and he brings up this course in he brought up a few things. I don't remember the other things, but he brought up the film school at the U of R. And basically like the sealer was like, you can take math 100 or you can take logic 100. And I was like, logic, I am in. So
the guidance counselor told you to get the film degree. What an idiot. He's probably been fired long ago.
Yeah. So we went from shoots that went sideways to careers that went sideways. We hope everybody that is listening is now questioning what they're doing for a living or for their passion.
Yeah.
You're welcome. That's what being a camera person is all about. All right. Anyways, Nick, that is we're basically at our 45. I'm gonna stick us to this.
Any advice? Got to end with a bit of advice. Maybe go career.
Don't erase your SD cards.
Don't erase your SD card. I'm gonna go career, and I'm gonna, even though your guidance counselor didn't know what they were doing, it is okay to have a unorthodox career. Like, don't get a useless degree, but I don't think that film is a useless degree. I think it's one that you can actually take with you to stuff.
Says the guy who didn't get his film degree.
Yeah. Now, my best advice would be, if you really loved film, let's say film was your biggest passion, just get go business, accounting, economic, some other side that then long term you can take to the producing side of movies. So because you can always develop those the skills, like the on-set skills and the camera skills and the audio skills, in my opinion, on the job. You don't really need the university training for that.
Yeah. Do you know what, Nick? We're going to talk about that on the next episode. So thanks for watching, everybody. Oh yeah, I got to do this.
That was great. Right on the 45. Wow.